Well, hello there again, friends. Today is 1/31/2022, and today is Odin Project Vlog Day 51. Um, Yesterday was Sunday, 1:30. Um, I I was gonna put up a video, but I got working. I got a really good groove, and then I kind of got stuck late in the evening, and I was able to finish the Module 12 revisiting rock, paper, scissors, but it was way too late in the evening for me to make a video, so I decided to postpone that until today, 1:31. Somebody asked in the comments a while back a very good question, and I addressed this early on in the series, but I haven't said it recently. And they asked me how long do I spend um, every day studying, and that's a good question. Usually during the week, because I have work commitments and stuff like that, um, and family and all that. I put a realistic goal of an hour. Um, Sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes it's a little bit less, and honestly, sometimes I don't even get to it because I'm so exhausted from work. Um, like last week, a good example, there was a couple days in the middle of the week where I didn't even touch it because it was just I was just exhausted. But anyway, I try to shoot for 1 hour, and then on the weeks like last week where I don't put a video up or excuse me, I don't study, I'll put more time in on the weekends. Um, my initial goal was an hour even on the weekends, but it's been kind of creeping up more as far as time commitment on the weekends, Saturday and Sundays. And then yesterday, I put in way more than 2 hours. Basically, I completed rock, paper, scissors, a complete refactoring um, in the single day. But I mean, I probably had 3 hours at least. So yeah, I hope they answered your question. But anyway, without further ado, let's just get started. So, um, yeah, so we got to revisiting rock, paper, scissors, refactoring it. I won't go into it. I want to get right into the text editor. You guys can read the requirements of it, but basically we're going to use DOM manipulation to make JavaScript do cool things, and manipulate it with buttons, basically, and queries and stuff like that. So what it does at the beginning is walks you through the Git process of creating a new branch. I highly recommend you do that. Don't skip it. I'm not going to go over here for the sake of time, but it's easy. It's all command line based stuff anyway. But basically, you create your branch, and then you start coding. And when you do your Git commits up at the end, you do them to the branch first. And it's just a exercise because eventually you delete the branch anyway. But once you merge the branch to your main, but it's just exercising how to do that process of going through that. So because we are refactoring this entire page, this entire rock paper scissors application, it will no longer run the way it used to run. You'll see that here in a minute, in a bit. So you're looking at the index.html file, and really the only changes I made here from the first rock paper scissors iteration is that I added 3 buttons with an ID, and you'll see why I have this here in a minute. But I could have done it differently, but basically it was one of those things where I was 3/4 of the way through refactoring, and I would have to redo a bunch of crap if I didn't add in IDs. So I did. The cleaner way to do it was to do everything off class, or I mean off ID, but I'd already had class in there, so yeah. I know I'm kind of talking into the future, but you'll understand. So I create 3 buttons: ID 1, 2, 3, and class rock paper scissors, and they are called rock paper scissors um, in the button name. So that's it. That's all there is. Everything, all the magic's done in the script. So we go over to script.js like we had before. Nothing new there. I'm going to go through this linearly from the top to bottom. At some points, I may skip around. Simple fact is because um, for it to flow well. Some stuff, this isn't perfect by any means, and this isn't the only way to do it. It's just my way to do it, and it does work out. So um, the computer play, um, we didn't make any changes to that, so I'm going to skip over that. The game start. Um, the only thing I did different here was I took out there was a round count or something like that that basically was the loop for the rounds. If you remember from the first iteration, well, we got rid of that loop. We're not doing that anymore. So in this example, or in this iteration, we're playing until somebody gets 5 points, and 1 point means 1 win. So until somebody gets 5 wins, and then it stops. So the play will continue to play no matter what until somebody gets 5 wins, and then it stops. So we have function game call start there. We got some declarations, initialization of some variables here: player win, computer win, game winner. These are numbers, and this is string. No different than before. Here's where it starts to get different. So we had a loop. We had a while loop in here before. So while loop's gone, and I put some comments in here. So I have add listeners for all 3 buttons and run round on click track and end game. So basically what this does is we create a constant. Get off the toolbar. I'm going to try to highlight it so you guys can see what line I'm on, kind of. We have a constant variable called buttons that's going to equal document.query selector all buttons. So what that's going to do is that's going to query all 3 of them buttons that are on the HTML, and they're going to be sitting in the buttons variable. So then we're going to call buttons.forEach button. So we're going to do that loop that we talked about yesterday, or well, last video anyway. I call it a loop, but it's really a method. And so this for each is going to loop through each button, and on each iteration, you're going to have button.add event listener at click. So we're listening for a click of the button. When the click of the button happens, we're going to invoke player selection equals the value of button.className. And what that does is button.className, buttons an HTML element parameter, and it goes out, and .className is the property element for button. So what that does is it goes out here and looks at class name, and class name is these right here. So that's why you're already seeing why I have that in there. So this will be used as the player's selection. So it'll read in that string, and that will be the player's selection once they click it. So that gets put in as player selection. And then we have, sorry about that, had some popcorn and it's stuck on my teeth. Just a second. Thanks guys for waiting. Anyway, so we have computer selection, which is a variable that's invoked and takes on a computer play. So this invokes computer play. So on this line here, it's going to go down to, or excuse me, go up to computer play at the top and run this function. And that, if you remember, that's not changed. That just is the random play using math.random and a little manipulation of the numbers to get the computer to play rock, paper, scissors. And then you go down here in the next line. This is, so here's where I'm going to jump around a bit. So to understand this, I have to take you down to where I declare battle win text. So let's just go down to that. So so we come down here and where's it at? Sorry, it's when you're blown in, it's hard to see things. Okay, right here. Create battle win text DOM. So So what this does is creates a constant variable battle win text. It takes on document.create element p, so it creates a paragraph element, and we're calling that in JavaScript here, we're calling that battle win text. So battle win text.style color, if you remember from previously, is going to be the color attribute. We're going to give it black, and results.div, we're going to append the child battle win text to that results div. which I'm jumping around here, but for the flow, so here's the so going in this section, here's where I create all the DOM manipulation. So we'll just go through this real quick and we'll hop back up. So this section here of code, this creates the div DOM that they say that in the text requirements that you need. You need to basically start off with a div, as we know. We did that last time too. So you have a container equals document.query selector container, and that's hashtags, so that's ID. So what that's doing is that's grabbing a hold of and remembering this div ID right here. So what it does is it does that, and then a variable is created called results div, which takes on document.createElement div. So we're going to have a div created inside of that, right there. And results div.style, so we're adding a margin of 20 pixels at the top, which means it'll basically create the div that has 20 pixels of margin between the buttons. And you'll see this when I show you at the end. I'll put it all together and show you the browser package. And you'll see that there's a little bit of space in it, and that's why that line's in there. And then container.append child, so this will append results div unto container as a child. Going down one, this section creates player with win tracking DOM. So again, same type of thing. We create the element P for paragraph. It's going to be called player win text. We're going to assign it a color blue. We're going to say give it text content player wins total plus player win. So this right here is going to be a string that plays out, and it's going to be not played out, but sorry, player win text content. So it's going to say player win totals space and then the variable player win. And if you remember from previously, this was a iterated on variable, and so we kept that code alive. As we'll go back to that. So keep that in your mind. So player win and computer win are iterable. There's 0. They start at 0, and they exactly what it sounds like. It's the winning count. So it's going to iterate up from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it'll stop at 5. So this appends child player win text to results div. This does the exact same thing as the previous one, except we're creating one for basically computer win, and we're calling it computer win text. That's pretty much the only difference. Exact same thing. But I originally had them together, but I couldn't get it to work with two text contents, so basically I separated them out, created another P element, and called it computer win text. This one creates the battle text. This is what we already went over. And then the next one creates a game win text. So you have game win text takes on create element P. So we got another paragraph. We're giving it style orange, and game win text content is game winner. So we'll come back to, well, we won't come back to that. So game winner is the string. It's initialized at the top of game. You remember with empty string. But what game winner will have is this right here. So anyway, let me finish this up real quick. So this appends the game win text to results.div as a child, and then we go down here and we'll talk about game winner. So game winner is basically an if then else statement, a really long one. This is probably the most complicated part, and I spent the most time on in the thing. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna come back to game winner because I don't want to miss this up here. Hang on to that just for a second. So going back up here, now that we've talked about the different sections of DOM manipulation, we have excuse me, we have battle win text, and then that, if you remember, that was declared earlier, and that's going to be text content. So we're going to display the contents of play around, player selection, computer selection, which is what we had in the previous section, a previous iteration of this, except, excuse me, this wasn't player selection. It was, I think it was called like first letter cap, because I ran the, first letter cap function, which is now gone, because we aren't asking the player to type in, we're telling them to click a button. So this will play out, spit out that, and then the player win text exact same thing. Player win totals plus player wins. So this will do what we showed before, except this will fire an update every time there's a click, versus the one down below is only firing once and stopping. Because if you notice, there's no for loop in my code. This is basically the only loop is the button click action. So computer win text, same thing. Computer win totals, and then computer win is that iteration going on. So every time there's a click, it's tracking it in that. And that will be key to remember, because that tracking mechanism right there is how we'll end the game. And then it calls end game, which I created new end game, not parameter, excuse me, function. So that's that. So going down here, back down to where we were talking about game winners. So this this is kind of where all the magic happens. So this is that end game. So at the very end up there, you just see it calls end game. So it calls this, and it says if player win is equal to 5 in value and type, game winner equals you win. And there's the assignment. It gets you win, and then game win text dot text content equals game winner. So we're assigning the game win text attribute or variable, if you will, the game winner, which is you win. And so it's getting assigned there. And then we're having disable game buttons. So what this does, I googled this. So document.getElement by ID 1, 2, and 3. Disable equals true. This line of block of code here will disable the buttons so that play stops. So this isn't actually, none of this actually, I went above and beyond. None of this actually is a part of the requirements. None of this is. This whole end game is something I created because I didn't like how the game just kept going. Like, even though it didn't say you had to create a soft stop, the game would keep going endlessly even though it said you win. This part, actually, I should say this part. This part was required because you do have to track the winner and spit out who won, but that's all the far you have to go. You don't have to disable or anything like that. But I decided to disable the buttons because I tried different variations of this, and this seemed to be the easiest and cleanest way to do it. So that's what this is doing, basically. Again, it's not required. I just went above and beyond. So this creates new DOM button to replay. So now we create a constant variable called play again button, and it takes on create an element button. So it creates a button. Again, and it only creates the button when this code is executed. So you won't see this while you're playing until the very end. And it's assigned value. It's called play again in the text, and then that is appended to results div as everything else was before. And then if clicked, reload page. So this is the reload. Again, I googled this part. I didn't know how to do it, so I got a little savvy with engineering here, software engineering thoughts. So play again button dot add event parser. We're waiting for a click inside of this if, and if it clicks, we're going to go ahead and reload. So location dot reload with no parameters input basically refreshes the page. It says if you did it in the browser, but this will do it automatically as soon as they click the button. Else if computer wins, now it's just the opposite. So if computer wins equals 5 both in value and in object or in type, game winner equals string computer wins, and we load that into game win text, and we disable the buttons again, and we create the new DOM button to replay. It's the same code, so I'm kind of going fast through it. Append the child, play again, and if clicked, reload page. So again, same code. Play again button dot add event listener clicks. So we're waiting to see if somebody clicks, and if they click, we're going to reload. And then down here is what we had before. This is the function called start the game. So that honestly, the code starts here at line 140 and then wraps all the way back up, and then triggers this function and starts. So that was a lot in 19 minutes, but if you guys need to, I know I went through that super fast, but feel free to replay this or slow me down. My code's also available for you to peruse and play with and look at additionally out on my GitHub page if you'd like. I've already, as of this recording, I've already published that out, so it's up there for you to look at. So if you run this in the browser, this is what it does. So you have rock, paper, scissors. Play it. Remember we had that. This is the JavaScript DOM in action. So we click rock. It's a tie. This is all DOM manipulation. It's a tie. You selected rock and the computer selected rock. So no update there. We select paper. It's a tie again. You select paper. Computer select paper. Who would have thought ties? Finally. Okay. You lose. You selected paper. Computer selected scissors. So see here it's tallying the wins. So won't be too verbose about this, but it's going to tally up until somebody gets 5, and then see what it does. So as soon as 5's hit, computer hits 5. It says computer wins pops. This is that if then else statement, or if else at the bottom with the function end game. Computer wins. You see how these are disabled, and I got a play again button that popped up, and that's because of the magic that I went through down here, the extra work to make that happen. So here's that. So here's the element getting created. There's the text getting applied to it. It's getting applied again to dependent child, the results div, and it's waiting for you to click. Again, none of that is required for this, so don't think that you guys got to put this in your code. That I obviously, as always, I always preface everything with that you guys have already taken your stab at this project and you're just wanting to see mine for curiosity's sake. This is what I did. Again, it's not required. It's just I didn't like how this just dropped off, and you could literally click this rock paper scissors for eternity and it would just keep tallying, and then the code would say, flip to player wins, or you win when it went to 5 on the player, and it would go back to computer wins if this went up by another 5. So it just was messy. So I took the extra time, probably like an hour more than I needed to, but figured out how to disable buttons and to get this to pop up, and you hit play again, and look, reloads the page like we just talked about, and there it starts again. So you just do it all over again. Computer wins, play again, reset, play again. There's probably other better ways to do it. Again, there's not a best way. This is just my way and how I did it. So I'd be curious to see how you guys did it too. And that is it. So I won't make this video go any longer. Next thing is we'll be starting Etch-a-Sketch projects. So with on that, I took a quick peek and it looks like a bear. So using much more DOM manipulation than I already have, which maybe it was good practice for me to do what I did on rock, paper, scissors. So I'm probably going to do Etch-a-Sketch in parts, like I did with landing page, how it was all split out into different parts, and I'll figure out logical places to stop and I'll upload. I'm not going to make one crazy long video on it. I'll probably do sections and then upload them individually. So I may not get to, may or may not get to a, upload tomorrow. It depends on how far I get and how I feel about it and how it transitions. And I don't want to put up something that doesn't make sense to you guys either. So I don't think I missed anything for this. So that's it. Again, that was a lot. Replay if you need be, if you wanted to get more understanding. And thank you for coming along on the journey today with me. Please like, share, and subscribe for more content. And until next time, see ya.